today, a majority of Americans are concerned about Joe Biden. First of all, where is Joe, other than at the border where he's putting a record number of kids in cages? We've got a lot for you coming up today, and it starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Today joined by my two faves, Stu Burguiere, host of Stu Does America, and Pat Gray of Pat Gray Unleashed. Both you can find on BlazeTV. And don't tell anyone that I called you guys my favorites.
Okay. No, because I've listened to the show and you say that to everybody.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh, crap.
Yeah. So just so you know, this is being recorded and it comes out as a podcast every day.
What?
Yeah. So we always can hear what you say about us and others. That's just something you should be aware of for the future.
Wow. I got to go back and delete some stuff then. All right. Headlines of the day, which, by the way, we've got a really fun Andrew Cuomo story that we are going to get to later. And when I say fun, I mean fun for Stu Burguiere.
Yeah, actually, absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
But I will sink my teeth into it for
sure.
Well,
right, because I mean, I feel like he's your arch nemesis. Like if you were a comic book character, Andrew Cuomo would be your arch nemesis.
I know, and what a dumb arch nemesis. You know, like
seems like a really, really easy man to defeat, though.
Well, I mean, it's been easier than I would have expected. I'll tell you that. He is running for his life at this point.
All right, we will get into that later on in the program. So apparently Rasmussen, they released data from, now their polling was conducted March 4th through March 7th concerning Biden's lack of transparency. And the survey found that 52% of Americans were concerned about Biden's lack of access to the press. 37% identified as very concerned. And, I mean, this is at a time where, in the last 100 years, is it, that there has always been a president that has had a press conference that has taken questions from the press I mean, not just by this point, but like well before this point.
Yeah. And you thought his spending would be the record-setting part of his administration, which it will be.
Right, that too.
But this, in
Many
addition
records.
to that, he's also setting a record for not having press conferences. The longest record, I believe, was 33 days. So we're at, I think, 50 right now, 50 or 51, whatever it is. They are saying, the White House is promising, though, that Joe Biden may have a formal press conference by the end of the month, which is only 20 days away. Now, Pat, you know how long it takes to set up a press conference if you're the president of the United States. It's a 2-3 week process.
Yeah.
At least.
Or 3 months.
Maybe 3 month process.
Maybe 3 months.
Huh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, but all the other presidents have gotten them done way before that. So how did that?
I don't know. I assume they just, I don't know. Maybe they broke the rules. Maybe he's just so nice, and maybe he was, I really don't know. There's no excuse for it, except for the fact of the real excuse, which is they're hiding him.
Right.
They are hiding Joe Biden because they know when he speaks in public, terrible things happen.
It's interesting because exactly 100 years ago, we had a president who they also had to hide because he had a massive stroke and was completely incapacitated. Mm-hmm. And for the last 2 years of his administration, we didn't hear from him.
And his wife
ran the show. So it's very reminiscent of Woodrow Wilson and his administration.
Yes, and I heard Glenn say something similar, but I keep going back in my head to, but we voted the guy in like this. Right?
Yeah.
Like you're talking about
Yes,
a guy who
that's
had
true.
a stroke midway through. That's not how he was. I mean, I'm looking at Joe Biden the whole time like, you guys realize we had this conversation on the show many times. How long is he going to last? We're taking bets on how long this man is going to last as commander-in-chief because he is declining so rapidly while the campaign's going on. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing that, it's like 52% of Americans are concerned. Now they're talking about lack of access to the press, but it's like, why do you, obviously they should know why that is, right? Yeah. So it's like, did you not see these things happening before you voted for the guy?
Yeah, that's why, Joe Biden really had no role in the election of 2016. This was an election for Donald Trump or against Donald Trump. Joe Biden was literally a giant zilch.
In 2020?
In 2020, I'm sorry. 2020, sorry, yes. God, the years are passing too quickly.
Okay,
I sound like Joe Biden. So, he really had no role in that election at all, right? That was not what it was about. And, now that he's in now that he's in office, you see how bad and damaging this is. And we should be clear, like, none of us at this table take any joy in this for multiple reasons. Are we really nice people who want the best for Joe Biden as a human being? Of course we are. In addition, I really don't want Kamala Harris to be president of the United States. That would be very, very bad. It would also include, for sure, the filibuster going away. It would include all sorts of terrible things being passed. The executive orders that would fly through would be unmentionable. The only reason I think he might last a little bit longer than some people think is because he has such a desire for this job. He's wanted it his whole life. And he is still the president of the United States. And with that does come some power. And he can push a lot of people away, even if he is incapacitated. And I think that is the one thing he's holding on to. I don't know how long it lasts, though. I mean, he does not. Look, I've had relatives who've gone through things like this, where you're kind of drifting off, and it's incredibly sad to watch. And you see it happening with him.
And you don't think that Democrat lawmakers would make a move to just get him out because of the optics of that, do you think?
I think at the very least, let's say optimistic, let's say Joe Biden is as bad as we think he is, judging by every piece of evidence we have. And if you're the Democrats, you don't want to make a change during the election, right? You wouldn't want to say in 2024, like, okay, we're switching now from him to her.
Right.
You don't want that. But you also don't want to necessarily do it before the 2022 election. Yeah. So, I mean, prime time for this switcheroo comes in about 2023 in my mind.
We're going to have to do weekend at Bernie's to keep him going that long. There's no way. There is no way. And you know what's despicable? All the people, his inner circle, especially Lady Jill McBiden. She is despicable. She's known the whole time how bad this guy is. And she kept pushing him along, wouldn't entertain any of the questions Jake Tapper even asked her about it. And she flatly refused to even entertain it. Why? Because I think she wants to be in the center of power. And it's despicable that everybody knew, and they knew, because we know. It's so obvious right now that his cognitive decline is rapidly degrading him. And it has been for easily the last year or two. Yeah. And when you listen to speeches from 2012 or 2008, and then you see what he does now, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
What else has been amazing, I think, has been to see the press actually pushing back on this, although it shouldn't be amazing when you think about the fact that most of the people in the White House press corps are such narcissists that the only way you're going to get a real story out of them that's going to be critical of a Democrat administration is by somehow involving themselves, right? So they're mad that they don't have the access, therefore they're actually reporting on it. But we've seen ABC News, who actually, the contrast, this is what they said, the contrast with former President Donald Trump has been especially striking, especially, you shouldn't use you should not use especially that close together, guys. Especially given Biden's repeated promises to Americans that he'd always be straight and transparent. I mean, the campaign is one thing, because I think the goal, obviously, of the mainstream media was get Donald Trump out at all costs. Now that they've achieved that goal, I think that they can actually look to how can I make the biggest name for myself? How can we, and I wouldn't be surprised to see more pushback from the press corps, because if the choice is cover for this guy who we can all see on the decline, or maybe make a name for myself reporting on something that he might be doing wrong, I think they're always going to choose making a name for themselves.
Yeah, straight and transparent is laughable.
Yeah.
I don't want to comment on his sexual orientation, but he definitely has not been transparent. That I will say. They're right. The one thing that pisses the media people off about Democrats, the only thing, is when they're the ones getting screwed.
Right.
They'll let them do anything to the American people that anyone wants, but when it comes down to them not having access, and they did, I will say, at some very low, there's a low hum of complaint about Barack Obama during his presidency. There were pieces written by a lot of journalists who were actually legitimately pissed off at him for the way he handled the press. Even people like, even when they were going after people on Fox News occasionally, like James Rosen, where they really, I think broke the law, trying to spy on him when that was all going on. I think, though, there is that there is this fear, especially because Donald Trump is still looming. Right, I mean, like this, he hasn't gone away. He's blatantly leading the field. If the primary was going to be held today, they don't want to risk that again, and that's why they overlooked so much in between 2018, 2019, 2020. Is because their only goal was to get him out with no real other plan. It was just, blow that thing up and then let's see what happens. This is what happened. A guy who could barely speak, who they have to hide constantly and cover for. There will be some people who break from that philosophy, but it's still going to hold relatively well, at least for a while. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying we're not going to see the puff pieces about Joe Biden winning his Mario Kart tournament. When does the first cat get to the premises?
That's
right?
A big story.
Well, it is a big story, Stu. Okay, because I would like to know when they will get a cat.
Really?
Because cats are better than dogs. But
what? It's a whole nother segment.
What an outrageous statement.
But, I do think that when the press sees an opportunity to make the story about themselves, they're going to take it, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, we're getting a tiny bit, we're getting little sprinklings of scattered journalism right now because they're getting pissed that they don't have access to the president. And, I mean, once they figure out that he can't really function, they might stop doing it because I think they'll realize we don't
want to shine a light on this. Yeah, maybe so.
Here's how we know they're actually legitimately frustrated. If I say the name Maggie Haberman to you, you know who she is.
Yes.
If I say Jim Acosta, you know who they are, right? Who are the people right now? Outside of maybe Peter Doocy, do you know any other names?
No.
Why? Because they're not having these moments, right? They're not having these big viral moments. Their chance to go from no-name reporter to I get a multi-million-dollar book deal and everyone praises me is going away. There's no way to make and now look, you're never going to be able to do it with a Democratic president and one like Biden who's never going to be as accessible or interesting as Donald Trump was to the press. But this is the big moment. You get to that chief White House correspondent, this is your chance to shine, and there's no chance to shine because they're not giving any sunlight.
Yeah. Now Biden is supposed to give an address today. Now, as of the time of this taping, he obviously has not. But
I think it's tonight.
Tonight, okay.
Yeah.
So
right after Stu Does America, not during it, not in direct competition with it.
Yeah,
just want to make sure everyone knows.
Don't try to change
watch
the channel.
Stu Does America.
Obviously, watch Stu Does America.
After that, it may be on delay by that point, but yeah, I think it's right around 8 p.m. Eastern.
So, and you said that he may I love the way you said it at the beginning. You were like, they promise that he may take questions.
And to be clear, they're not saying he's doing a press conference tonight.
What?
No. They are saying he may do it in the next 20 days. So now, look, that doesn't mean he has not answered.
She specifically said Thursday, though.
Yeah, I know. Well,
at one point, I remember Jen Psaki specifically saying Thursday.
So he has answered some questions in passing from time to time. He'll make a statement. Someone will throw out a question. He did it just the other day, where he came back and answered some dumb question. But there's a difference between that and a formal press conference in which the press is all lined up. They all know they're getting their questions. They can all come at once. It's the part where the president shows his mental acuity, right? Yeah. He has to be able to think quickly on his feet. Barack Obama did that all the time. Donald Trump loved doing it, especially at the beginning of his term.
Every day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He stopped and talked to him every day.
Every day. He loved talking
every single day.
Well, and we also know, we've heard reports already that the White House press secretary is getting questions beforehand and picking them beforehand. So if that's what they're doing, you would think that they would be able to have enough information being given to Joe. They're giving him the questions. Presumably, they could give him the answers, and he could just take it from there. But I guess that's how far gone he may be.
I go back and forth on this because this is the correct strategy for the Democrats. Forget the fact what's good for the country because they certainly don't care about it.
Yeah.
Hide him.
What they hide him and this is a $1.9 trillion bill. As Nancy Pelosi said, it is the most consequential bill they've ever passed. Okay. If that's true, should have been a lot more noise about it, right? But if Donald Trump was out there, would have been, right? We would have been talking about it constantly. Joe Biden, you never hear from the guy. He occasionally will pop his head out and wave and fall over into the grass or whatever he does, and then it's over, right? So it's the correct strategy to hide him. I will say occasionally there are real, speaking of falling flat on your face, this is happening with the staff at times. This moment we saw the other day with him forgetting the name, he's the general that runs that deal over there, that whole thing. You gotta have the list of names in front of him. You gotta have a bullet, something that a 4-year-old could read for when he has that moment where the engine doesn't run.
And that's what I was going to ask.
And he
didn't look down at it, though.
He still can't. Well, he's probably got a prompter in front of him.
Yeah, you would
and
think.
he still can't get it right.
That's even worse.
It's bad.
That's even worse.
It's bad.
I mean, he really can't handle it, and you have to treat him like a baby.
Yeah.
Now, there is this thing about Biden, which I think is a factor in that, because I agree with you. Does Jill Biden want to be the center of power? Yes. But so does Joe Biden. Joe Biden has wanted this his entire freaking life. Yeah. And he does not want to admit.
He's in no position to make these decisions.
No, I totally agree. But also, he does not want to give that up. And he is the president. I mean, look, you can get away with a lot of stuff as president and people will cover for you. I think only if it comes to a point where it's becoming damaging for Democrats. This is the rule you always can apply. Yeah. If it's screwing the country, it doesn't matter. If they don't care. Yeah. If it's screwing the Democratic Party and hurting their chances, if he makes so many mistakes before 2022, and they're like, we can't do this. We're going to get brutalized in this midterm. We need to switch this out now. They might do it, but I don't think they're going to do it unless they feel that there is a real electoral amount of pain they're going to feel.
Or it's so bad that he can't be paraded out anymore. If he's just to the point where he just can't do it ever, then they'd have to make the change.
Yeah.
I will say, if he's in a wheelchair and he's wearing sunglasses, and they're just wheeling. There's two kind of young, cool guys dressed in 80s gear wheeling him around.
Yes.
I'd be very worried at that point.
Yes.
That's the time to worry.
All right. We've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Candid. So there was this, people tell you don't read the comments. Well, I always read the comments. And there was this idea going around a couple years ago that I had fake teeth. And yeah, I know.
Why?
That I don't know. They're like, they are unreasonably white. I don't believe that they're real. And I was just like, guys, these are. And
you know what? I say that about you all the time. You are unreasonably white. It's true.
Especially for a Hispanic person.
Wow. I'm offended.
Latinx.
I am offended.
A white Hispanic over here. I don't like it.
But it always used to kill me because I'm like, okay, my teeth were way more crooked. And I was like, if I had fake teeth, I would make sure that they were straight, you idiots. So then I met the company Candid, and Candid has helped me get straighter teeth because what Candid does is they're the clear plastic aligners that you can put, and I'm on camera, I'm not gonna go back and get braces again. That's just not something that I'm gonna do. So Candid has helped me straighten my teeth. They can help you as well. If you also don't wanna be a big dorky brace face, but you have some teeth that maybe have shifted that you want to get straight again, and you want to be proud of your smile. Candid, it's the COVID way, right? The lockdown way, the way in which you can just sit on your couch and do everything from home, and they send it all to you. So they've got all of these orthodontists that will review everything. They send you a kit, you make the impressions, you send them back off. They look at everything, they make you a treatment plan, and they send all of your aligners directly to your door. So it is very easy. The average Candid treatment is 6 months. And by the way, it's going to cost you thousands less than being a brace face. So all check marks right there. All right. Become your best you. Start straightening your teeth today with Candid. You can save $75 on Candid starter kit if you go to candidco.com/Y. That is, and by the way, use code Y when you do that. That is candidco.com/Y, promo code Y. Back in a minute.
It's your nose at the.
Yeah. All right. A couple things going on at the border. I know that we have been talking about this week. Obviously, there are a record number of unaccompanied minors who are coming over to the United States, which is why Joe Biden is keeping kids in cages.
Torn from their parents.
Thank you.
Ripped from their arms.
Thank you.
As their mothers screamed and begged for them to stay.
Yes.
It's really heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Honestly, I can't believe that he is literally Hitler and putting people in concentration camps.
Right?
Literally.
I mean, that's...
You hate to Actually, I don't. I like to use their own stuff against them.
I do too. I'm here for it.
Obviously, they're finding out. The situation at the border is a little tougher than they gave it credit for, because the situation with all of these unaccompanied minors coming across, what are you supposed to do with them? When their parents aren't around, what are you going to do? If you can't find their parents, what are you going to do? Do you turn them over to somebody who just walks in and says, yeah, I'm their parent?
Right.
And they might be a coyote, they might be a drug dealer, they might be a sex trafficker. You have no idea. Yeah. And so then you call the parents who are back in Honduras or Guatemala and you say, hey, we want to send your kids back to you. No, thank you. Nope. They refuse. Yeah. Why? Because they want to join the kids in the United States. That's why.
And you bring up a great point, Pat, because, I think we obviously saw with the Trump administration, they gave the message, they sent the message, we're clamping down, right? We're going to build the wall. Don't bring your kids here.
Yep.
We don't want this. Now you see a reversal of that with the Biden administration, where even his border advisor, the National Security Council coordinator for the southern border, his ambassador Roberta Jacobson, kind of admits that this surge of migrants is because of Biden's and the Biden administration's rhetoric. Watch.
It's a coincidence that as soon as Trump and his immigration policy were on the way out and Biden and his stated policy were on the way in, this historic surge at the border started?
Pretty good.
Well, first of all, one of the things I think is important is we've seen surges before. Surges tend to respond to hope. And there was a significant hope for a more humane policy after 4 years of pent-up demand. So I don't know whether I would call that a coincidence, but I certainly think that the idea that a more humane policy would be in place may have driven people to make that decision. But perhaps more importantly, it definitely drove smugglers to express disinformation, to spread disinformation about what was now possible.
So I would can we just call them magnets? Because that's what we used to do, is just say these are magnets and we shouldn't be putting them out there to attract these people. If you want to be humane, if you want to be do the moral thing, probably that humane and moral thing is to tell them, don't make the dangerous trip. Yep. Don't send your children with coyotes where they could be sex trafficked. Yep. Maybe put that message out there if you'd like to do the humane and moral thing, because otherwise you're just putting kids in, not cages, you're putting kids in containers now.
Right.
So
it's interesting because, you had this border crisis with Biden. And if you remember, there was a border crisis during the Trump administration. And then there was that one border crisis, during the Obama administration. And there was that border crisis during the Bush administration. There was this border. Maybe at some point we would realize that this is a problem area for the country and we should try to solve it long term. I know it's a crazy idea.
That's hateful too.
Is it?
Yeah. It's very xenophobic.
I will say, look, Trump did not get nearly all the things he promised done on the border. It's very difficult to do.
True.
But at least he had a general signal to the world that he was not willing to hug you as you cross the border personally. And that is what the Biden administration has sent out. This is, she's right. This is actually a really good statement by her, because what she's saying in the very, very nuanced way is people had hoped they could get in now, so they're all coming now because they know if they come here, Biden's going to give them amnesty, right? And they're right. They are right. They've actually made a logical decision based on the facts on the ground. You can blame it on coyotes all you want. People are coming here and being, this whole thing about being separated with your family from your family is so absurd. Okay, so Donald Trump had the mother and the father come in and then he separated them and that was the worst thing in the world. Much better, of course, is separating them before the border crossing. So they cross the border by themselves instead of with their parent to monitor it. And then they come over here and then they get released into the public.
And here's the thing about coyotes, or as George W. Bush used to say, coyotes. They've always lied. They didn't just start lying now. They've always lied to people. And this is how they make their living. So, they tell people, I can get you in. Give me $7,000 and I'll get you across the border. And so they've been doing this forever. And the difference is that, as we mentioned, Donald Trump was saying, don't come.
Yeah.
Do not come here. You cannot do this with this caravan. You're going to be turned away. Whereas Biden was saying we're going to grant amnesty to 11 million people.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense for you to come now and try to get in on that.
And they're tearing up the even basic lines that were drawn during the Trump administration, like when you come here and you apply, you stay in Mexico until we make a decision. If you're coming from, Chile, you got to stop in somewhere else, Guatemala, and try to get, some excuses there. I heard a report the other day for the whole process going through. They find out that people come. And they come to the United States and they say, we want to come to the United States. We have a real problem in our home country. And they say, okay, well, you have to go back to Mexico and ask for asylum there, or go to Guatemala and ask for asylum there. And they go, no, we'll just go back to our home country of Honduras or whatever. It's not real. We all know it's not real.
Right.
And they're pulling on for so many. I mean, it's not every single case is not real. I mean, asylum is an important thing. Like, I would have absolutely opened our arms to people from Hong Kong, for example, as they were fleeing. You could make a really good argument.
Cubans who float across on an old Oldsmobile door.
Venezuela, right? Like Venezuela, under the rule of socialist rule. Like, there are real arguments for certain people in certain circumstances. But the reasons they're coming here largely are things that aren't even covered under asylum law. And they're just trying to manipulate it because they know there's a hesitance, and at this point it's even worse than that. It's a hesitance to say, well, we don't believe you, or there's no evidence of what you're saying. It's sad, a lot of these people do live really crap heaps. Their lives are crap heaps back where they are. But that is actually not what the asylum does. It's not like, you're sad with your life in Honduras because the economy's kind of bad. That's not what asylum's for. And they're trying to manipulate these services because we have a tough time saying no.
Which, by the way, when Mexico is saying, hey, guys, your policies are they're a problem because they're stoking illegal immigration into our country, and they're creating a business for organized crime with the drug cartels. When Mexico is telling the United States that, that's a kind of a problem.
Yeah, Mexico doesn't like illegal immigration.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are aware of that, but they don't dig it at all.
I think most countries
don't
like illegal
We're the only
immigration.
ones who are supposed to love it and welcome it.
Right.
But when Felipe Calderon was here, he admitted he was on with Wolf Blitzer on CNN, and Wolf Blitzer asked him, hey, so if people sneak across your southern border, do you just welcome them in and give them food and shelter and say welcome? And he said, no. We send back them.
Right.
We send back
If
them.
they are here without permissions, we send back them. Well, okay, how come you can and we can't?
Right.
It's bizarre.
It is. All right, we've got more to come, including the latest allegation against Andrew Cuomo. You're not going to want to miss that. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Issue. So if you are looking to make an impact with your online content, you need to get familiar with Issue, all right? Issue is the easiest way to make your creative ideas come to life, and you can seamlessly share it everywhere you want your content to be seen. So it is an all-in-one platform. It creates and distributes digital content from marketing materials, magazines, flip books, brochures, whatever it is that you are needing to make, because PDFs, they're outdated. Issue is going to make your content way better, and it works already with tools that you probably already have, like Canva, Dropbox, and InDesign. You can make it once, put it out everywhere without going in and reformatting everything, and your content is already optimized for engagement and ready to share. Issue is going to help you, creators out there, marketers, designers, anyone who wants to make their content stand out, and you can start using Issue for free. Now, they're also going to offer a premium package with features that give a more customized experience. Give Issue a try. Get started with them today for free, or if you sign up for a premium account, you will get 50% off if you go to issue.com/podcast. Use promo code NEWS. That is now, pay attention to how it's spelled, okay? ISSUU.com/podcast. Use code NEWS at checkout for a free account or 50% off. Issue.com/podcast, promo code NEWS. Back in a minute. The latest sexual misconduct allegation made against Andrew Cuomo, who is, of course, the New York governor, has apparently been referred to the Albany Police Department, which said that the incident may have risen to the level of a crime. Now, Is this the 7th? I've lost track.
I think it's 6.
6, yeah.
Six?
I think-
Okay.
yeah, I think it's
So the 6th sexual misconduct allegation. Now, this one is a little bit different. The incident in question happened late last year. So we're in a new year. So this was not that many months ago when Cuomo allegedly summoned the woman to the executive mansion under the pretext of helping him with technical issues and allegedly reached under her blouse and aggressively groped her.
And what? That's frowned upon now?
Telling me that's
when
wrong.
did this start?
Oh, this cancel culture. I'll tell you. I mean, you
It's
can't
gotten
even.
so a New York governor can't even reach under people's blouses? Come on.
Come on.
No, Stu, surely you want to jump in on his behalf and defend the guy.
No.
No?
No, I don't want
Really?
to in any way.
Huh,
No,
that's weird.
I mean, you're right. This is a totally new line. I mean, this is because I mean the previous allegations have been disturbing, creepy. Illustrations of really bad workplace behavior.
Are they sexual harassment? I mean,
Some of them, I think some of them were sexual harassment, but certainly not sexual assault.
No.
Which is what is kind of being talked about
but
here.
sexual harassment really sometimes comes down to, does the woman find the guy attractive or not?
kind
Right,
of.
and if she does, if she doesn't, then
Yeah.
it's not.
Wow,
Then
you
it's,
are a white and a man. That is what you are, a white male. The white male brain has been implemented in her body. No, you're like, obviously these things can be complicated, right?
Yeah.
Because it was unwanted advances.
Yeah.
How are you to know if the advance is unwanted until you advance?
There can be
you
a line
probably
there,
don't,
right?
but you probably don't want to jump straight to the groping.
No, you
No,
don't.
no.
No, you do not.
It's probably
Yeah, I mean, this one's way over the line. If you go back
Yeah.
to some of the previous ones, like you could definitely say, I think there's a real legitimate argument of sexual harassment for like one of the women who said no to his advances and then was transferred to another part, of
Yeah,
Right.
that's
like
wrong.
that's the type of stuff that is really, and some of them, you're right, were like, they were different. There's some where you made the person feel uncomfortable, asked probing questions. A 63-year-old governor, should they for any reason be asking a 25-year-old underling to do anything, even if she was willing? Probably not a good idea. So there's all that stuff was all there. This is legitimately criminal. I mean, if you're going up and groping somebody who does not want you to be groped, that's a line you're not supposed to cross, America.
Absolutely.
Just a safety tip for you. So this one, if this is true, and I think honestly we're at the point now where unless it's blatantly obvious it's false, for example, they find her texting someone, I'm going to fake a claim on Andrew Cuomo,
Right.
something of that nature. It's hard to imagine that they're not like he's going to be able to hold on to this job in any real way. I mean, it's not borderline, right? Unless you just dismiss her claim. And I believe, as we were talking about a little earlier, everybody gets their, I can almost barely say it, due process.
Yeah.
Even Andrew Cuomo. I
Yes.
agree with that 100%.
Yep.
I don't want to give him due process because in a lot of ways this feels like the Al Capone situation, right? The real mob activity was the nursing home stuff and all he did around COVID. This is really more of the tax evasion, although this one crosses, I think, beyond that scale. So I do think it's a little bit strange in that I think, murdering thousands of people kind of feels like it's worse than almost any of this stuff. But I think that, yeah, it's weird. I know it's a weird stance. There's a few things that need to happen when
Got some strange ideas.
I know. I'm just tossing them out there. I hope we're in the free-form sort of environment where we can talk about these things. But I think there's like three things that need to happen when you're talking about a prominent Democrat being removed. It's not just did they commit a crime, because that doesn't matter to Democrats.
Yeah.
Right.
It needs to be something where, first of all, you need to have a guy who has Democrats turning on him. And you've seen a lot in New York that has happened. You have to have a situation where there's a major media source who is turned on him. And you see, like, the New York Times is like leading a lot of this stuff. And there's other local New York papers as well. And you need to have also a situation that it gives an off-ramp to Democrats, right? If it's just Democrats saying, wow, we screwed up, I can't believe this mistake we made, never going to happen.
No,
You have to have, this is an off-ramp for them. They can say, we were right on the COVID thing the whole time, and that was okay, whatever, don't look at that. This is over the line for us, and we're being consistent. When we were saying about Brett Kavanaugh, now we're going to say this here. And it gives them an off-ramp to deny their previous mistakes. Those three things coming together is a real problem for Andrew Cuomo. It might wind up being enough.
Once this situation is over, I think we need to come to a decision as a society on what constitutes sexual harassment in the workplace or anywhere.
Right.
Because is it asking somebody out? Is it kissing someone's hand? Is it touching the small of their back if you're taking a photo?
Right.
There's got to be some demarcations for what we can and can't do, because there's too much now that is just tossed out there as everything's sexual harassment.
And, being that he's the governor, we've been told for so long, for so many years by the left, that there's power dynamic there.
Yep.
So he's not allowed to do any of that.
So, if you're a single governor, you can't go out with
die
anyone.
alone, I guess.
Yeah,
I think people should only be able to date when they make the exact same salary. To the dollar.
And they have the exact same position. Like if they're both the governor of New York.
So how do they find that out?
What happens is you have an app that has your salary, and when you go near someone, if they both go green, then you'll know you're allowed to talk to that person.
Let me ask you this. What if they both make exactly the same amount of money? They're both governors, but one's in a smaller state.
No, they cannot date. That's a power dynamic, Pat. No, I mean, the power dynamic stuff gets blown out of proportion, right?
Yeah,
clearly, if there's two people, let's say, on the same level that make about the same money, right, they can, one could approach the other and try to court them and be rejected, and that's not sexual harassment. The left tries to make this thing was whenever there's any imbalance, here a governor at 63 running the state, a 25-year-old, it's a really big one.
It happens.
And I think that's true. And, if you listen to I think it's Charlotte Bennett, who's the 25-year-old, she never says he asks her to hook up or anything. He just says he's really creepy, and I knew what he meant. Right now, I'm sure of it. Right? Like I am.
The guy has nipple
certain.
rings.
Yes, I am certain he's got a Trans Am and nipple rings. I'm certain he did this, and I'm sure her description of this is true. I think she comes off as very credible.
Yeah.
But again, if this was it, right? If it, let's say this latest allegation did not exist, and these other ones were there'd be something to happen, right? There should be something that happens. It doesn't necessarily mean he needs to step down. Yeah. If this is true, he absolutely needs to step down, and he should go to jail.
Yeah.
And if the nursing home stuff, we already know is true. There's no question about it. It's already out there. It's been confirmed by both sides. His own administration has said they lied about it so Donald Trump wouldn't tweet about them. Right. This is an open and shut case and should be the reason he's leaving.
And it could not happen to a better person. All right, we got to take a break. Back in a minute.
Should mention Andrew Cuomo was awful.
.com.
A private school in Manhattan has issued language recommendations to staff, students, and parents, advising them against using unwelcoming terms. The unwelcoming terms that we're talking about. Mom and dad. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Merry Christmas. So let's get into these. This is Grace Church School, and they want to make sure that their staff is very, very careful not to offend anyone. So instead of saying boys and girls, this is just their gender spectrum. So instead of saying boys and girls, guys, ladies, and gentlemen, they will say people, folks, friends, readers, and mathematicians. So you gotta. I don't. So what?
Who's offended by mom or dad? Don't we all have mothers and fathers?
Oh my gosh!
I'm sorry.
Wow.
This guy. Do you hear the hate?
Wow.
Don't we all? What is normal to you, Pat Gray?
Mothers and fathers.
Oh my gosh! He said it.
Yeah.
You're supposed to allow for the high percentage of the population that has 19 fathers, and only 19 fathers. Not 26 fathers, but 19 fathers and zero
mothers. Even if you have
mothers.
the 19 fathers, it gets back to a, sperm and an egg somehow got together.
Lies.
And
you are talking about lies.
Still parents.
We have to deny that, right? I guess in this world.
Well, and it gets,
Don't follow the science.
No, but it gets crazier than that. So there's in the families guide, nanny babysitter, you can't call a nanny babysitter. You have to call them a caregiver or guardian. I don't know what's offensive about nanny or babysitter, but apparently that is not.
I didn't even know. Honestly, like a lot of these things are always happening, and we follow them all. I've never heard that nanny or babysitter was offensive.
I know. I have a Friday nanny. That's what I call her, my Friday nanny, because she comes every Friday.
She get pissed.
I mean, she hasn't quit yet.
She did tell me she hates you, though.
Really?
Yeah, we were talking the other day.
She'll continue to take your money, but she hates you.
Well, babysitter, the only time I've ever heard that be offensive is to kids when they think they're too old to have a babysitter.
I'm not a baby.
Yeah, I'm not a baby. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, so race and ethnicity, instead of saying diverse or minority, which is like, I don't know what's problem with diverse. You're supposed to say person of color or marginalized identity or population.
Is that bizarre how colored is back? Colored used to be terrible to say.
Yeah.
What color are they?
Right.
But now it's
Now you're
person
supposed
of
to
color.
say,
It's great.
and you can't say diverse.
Yeah. And like person of color is, you could argue, I guess, is descriptive in some way. Marginalized is making a statement about a person. Like, you're marginalized. You know, I was reading this, oh God, this article. I'll have to send this to you guys. It's an article from Yahoo News or something, and it was talking about this woman who was telling everyone about how oppressed she was, African-American woman, who gave multiple examples from her life. Every 4 years or so, this seems to happen to her, where someone will make a comment about her hair. At one point, someone called her hair fluffy. Another time,
No.
Yeah, no, I know. Another time,
I could vomit.
Like 4 years later, someone said, noticed that she had her hair done differently. Said, "Hey, your hair is different. I thought you were going natural." And she's like, these microaggressions have turned my life into blah, 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 blah. So she goes into this long thing.
My gosh.
And she says that this stuff, these microaggressions are hurting her. And she now feels as if she accepts all of these as a collective black woman and not an individual. And it's all this really weird terminology. End of the day, though, what she says is, after these things happen, she goes and complains to the white people about it, I guess. And the white people go, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, I had no idea. If I ever do anything like that again, that makes you uncomfortable, let me know. I mean, I'm happy to correct it." And then the rest of the piece is her complaining about white people apologizing because that is now racist. White people apologizing for their white privilege is now racist and problematic. It's impossible. We just should never speak again. That's the only thing that can come out of this. And I think that's what they're trying to do, shut us up and make it so rational people can't have conversations. We should. They always ask for a national conversation on this. They don't want it.
No.
They don't want the conversation they ask for all the time.
No. And then just one more before we have to go to break. If you're trying to ask a child what they got for, like, say, Christmas or what they're going to be for Halloween, don't do that. You have to ask, do you celebrate holidays? Because you wouldn't want to offend them if they did not actually celebrate that holiday. And instead of what religion are you, Pat, are any religious or faith traditions important to you?
And keep in mind,
you're asking
this
children.
Is a church
Yeah.
school.
And also you're
It's
asking
a church
children.
school.
Ask my 5-year-old, are any religious traditions important to you? He'd be like, I mean, Christmas, I get presents, I guess. Really, really crazy where our world is going. All right, we got to take a break. Back in a minute.
And who's offended by it? Is there anyone offended by it?
All right, don't forget, if you have not gone to wherever you get your audio podcast, subscribe, rate, and review The News and Why It Matters so that more people can find the news and also find out why it matters. You also might hear your review read on air. We've got one today from MGNEville. I don't know what that's supposed to say, but they gave us 5 stars and said, the best show, period. There is seriously nothing bad to say about the show. Well, except that I can't listen to them on the weekends, but they have families, so I get it. Love this show. Thank you, by the way, for appreciating that we have families. Love this show, and every guest is amazing. Thank you for that. And another, Kaika, what is with y'all's, I don't know what this says, Kaika Gin Tiger.
Yep,
I'm always afraid it's
exactly
going to be like Bart Simpson pranking the bar, and I'm going to end up saying something that I don't intend
like
to say.
Seymour Butts or something.
Kaika Gin Tiger says, keep it up. Great job.
I think that listeners should know that the way to get your review read on the air is to mention Pat and Stu, which has happened several times. If you do that, she's going to have no choice but to read it on this day. So if you want your review read on the air, just you pump up the Pat and Stu days. That's the days those are the days that matter.
Are they?
Yes.
The News and Why It Matters.
It's great.
Thursday matters a little more than the other days.
Just like on Stu Does America, when I have a guest like Sarah Gonzalez tonight, that's the show that matters.
I know her.
By the way, you've been booked. Congratulations.
Oh, crap.
You had nothing to do tonight.